In this world, everyone becomes the last thing they consume. Some have eaten pork and turned into a character akin to Pigsy from Journey to the West, others have consumed cilantro only to morph into immobile willow trees. There are even those who have ingested bacteria from the air, bizarrely transforming into undefeatable creatures. In my previous life, despite having gained the abilities of a chicken by eating 2 meals of braised chicken in soy sauce, I met an unfortunate end in the beast tide of the apocalypse. Now, having been given a second chance at life, my first decision is to consume a variety of ingredients in order to acquire a plethora of abilities from powerful animals and plants. My aim is to stand atop the world as the king of transformations. The first creatures that come to mind are the owl and the electric eel of the Americas. The owl, with its superior night vision and unparalleled hearing, and the electric eel, capable of electrocuting its enemies, are must-haves. I remember seeing posts online about individuals who had transformed into beings that resembled Thor, the god of thunder, after consuming electric eels. Right, I almost forgot about the ants. And the best choice would be bullet ants. However, these ants are native to the tropical rainforests of Central and South America. If I want to acquire them here, I might have to resort to high-priced purchases from bloggers who are fond of ant breeding. The reason I choose bullet ants is that they are a unique species among ants, ranked as one of the top 10 most venomous animals in the world compared to other ants. Bullet ants have sharp venomous stingers and strong, powerful jaws. A bite from a bullet ant can exceed a pain index of 4.0. Once, an entomologist was bitten and found that in addition to excruciating pain, his arm was immobilized for several hours. Hence, in the Schmidt Pain Index he compiled, the pain from a bullet ant bite was ranked first. It's precisely because the pain from a bullet ant bite feels like being shot that it's named the bullet ant. I analyze carefully. Owls can bring night vision and superior hearing, electric eels can give the ability to release high-voltage electricity. Bullet ants should be able to bring strength attributes like other ants, and if I'm lucky, they might also bring powerful biting force and venomous stinging ability. Next, I need to consider defense. No matter how strong other abilities are, if the body's defense is too weak after the beast transformation, it's still easy to be hunted by others or eaten by evolved beasts. Since I've been reborn, I must shape myself into a hexagonal warrior with no shortcomings. I mutter to myself, for defense, which animal ingredients should I prepare? Crocodile? Pangolin? Or turtle? I've seen a beast transformer who ate crocodile meat before the transformation, and his skin became like a crocodile's. Not only was his strength immense, but his biting and defense abilities were also absurdly strong like a crocodile's. However, to pursue ultimate defense, I decide to look it up online. What's the most defensive animal in the world? Many different answers come up, but most of them say that among existing animals, the armadillo has the strongest defense because its armor is extremely hard. Someone tested it and found that bullets would be deflected off an armadillo's armor, disregarding the power of ordinary bullets, but armadillos are nearly extinct and there are none in this country, so I rule them out. Then, my eyes light up as I think of an animal with astonishing defense and tenacious vitality. Before the calamity of beast transformation strikes, the sad Lima people can gain the innate abilities of ants by eating them. Similarly, Africans can acquire the abilities of mosquitoes by eating mosquito cakes, evolving and becoming stronger by sucking blood. So, if one were to eat a tardigrade, would they also gain the extraordinary abilities of this creature? If so, I would have a meal of tardigrades before the beast transformation calamity. Wouldn't I be invincible then? The more I thought about it, the more excited I became. You see, tardigrades are known as the organisms that won't die until the sun explodes. They can withstand extreme environments that many species cannot, such as being boiled, crushed, frozen, or thrown into outer space. They can still continue to survive even in the face of a nuclear explosion. As long as they are not at the epicenter, they can completely immunize against the strong nuclear radiation. Most importantly, tardigrades are distributed all over the world, and they can be found in the sediment of freshwater, damp soil, and the water film of moss plants. Therefore, if one can gain the innate abilities of tardigrades by eating them before the beast transformation disaster, then tardigrades are definitely the easiest to obtain and the most bug-like beast transformation ingredient. But here comes the problem. Tardigrades can't be killed by boiling, and can survive in outer space. How can I kill them and cook them? I continued to search the internet. How to kill a tardigrade? There is a lot of related information on the internet, and the most authoritative and accurate popular science information is as follows. Tardigrades are transparent and their footprints are almost everywhere in the world. Once the living environment deteriorates, the body will shrink into a barrel shape and automatically dehydrate, entering a cryptobiotic state. Dormant and enduring. ROM of the University of Freiburg in Germany once placed tardigrades in environments of 150 degrees Celsius and minus 200 degrees Celsius, close to absolute temperature, and then put them back at room temperature, providing them with moisture, and then found that tardigrades miraculously revived. A radiation intensity of 5,700 gray can't kill it, a pressure of 600 megapascals, 6 times the water pressure of the deepest Mariana Trench, can't flatten it. However, tardigrades will be fatal after being irradiated by a sterilizing ultraviolet lamp for 15 minutes, and most of them will die within 24 hours. In addition, high-temperature steam or roasting over an open fire can eliminate them. After mastering this information, I immediately started to act. Now he only has 3 days left. If he wants to defy the heavens and change his fate, he must seize every second to prepare a perfect beast transformation meal for himself. First, he needs to prepare a microscope capable of discovering tardigrades and a sterilization ultraviolet lamp capable of killing tardigrades. Although high-temperature steam and roasting over an open fire can kill and cook tardigrades, it should be easy to lose track of tardigrades during this process. Therefore, I decided to use a sterilizing ultraviolet lamp to kill tardigrades, then collect the bodies of tardigrades and drink them with a beverage. The school has a microscope. I can sneak into the laboratory by climbing over the wall to borrow one. Otherwise, buying a good microscope would cost at least thousands or even tens of thousands, and I don't know where to buy it outside, and if I buy it online, it will take at least 1 or 2 days to deliver, and I can't wait. As for the sterilizing ultraviolet lamp, this thing is not expensive, and many shopping malls can buy it. I quickly went out, picked a biscuit tin box from the pile of bottles and cans at the door, then rode my beloved motorcycle and set off. The outskirts of the town are all farmland and woods, and tardigrades are often distributed in moss and lichen. I bypassed the farmland, entered the woods to collect moss and lichen, hoping that there would be a large number of tardigrades in them. As he collected a lot of moss and lichen, a salamander about 10 centimeters long suddenly crawled past him. Wait, isn't this creature known for its immortal regenerative ability? I immediately put down the tin box to catch the salamander. After several minutes of chasing and catching, he successfully caught this salamander and kept it in the biscuit tin box. Patting his hands, I took out my phone and searched for information about salamanders. I was right. Salamanders have strong vitality and regenerative ability, so they can regenerate their limbs, and even if their hearts are gone, they will not die and grow back their hearts. I seemed a bit excited. The invincible vitality of tardigrades, coupled with the regenerative ability of salamanders, if both could work on my body, wouldn't I truly be invincible? 2 hours later, I, who was full of harvest, first returned home to raise this salamander, then rode a motorcycle to the county mall to buy a sterilizing ultraviolet lamp, and by the way, bought a set of highly elastic clothes, so that when the beast transformation occurs, the clothes will not be torn. During this period, I contacted several popular bloggers who raised owls, electric eels, and bullet ants through the short video platform. If they all could reply and were willing to trade and cooperate, then he could prepare owls, electric eels, and bullet ants. After dealing with these things, it was unknowingly evening that I had a good meal outside. Then before it got dark, I went to school to borrow a microscope. So he bought a folding ladder on the way, secretly climbed over the wall and sneaked into the school, which hadn't started yet and was eerily quiet. He used his body to break open the door of the laboratory, borrowed a microscope and experimental utensils such as a beaker, volumetric flask, and dropper that he needed to use. Taking these equipment home, I used the microscope to search for tardigrades overnight. According to the information on the internet, he peeled off a large piece of moss and placed it in a clean plate, then moistened it with water. It's best to moisten it for more than 24 hours, but I didn't want to wait that long, so after waiting for a while, he began to squeeze the moss, and then dripped the squeezed water onto the slide and checked it with a microscope. I don't know if it's because I was lucky after my rebirth, but I found a tardigrade about 0.1 millimeters long on my first try. Without a microscope, it would be really hard to see with the naked eye. Tardigrades are too small. To be on the safe side, I must prepare at least hundreds of them. Just like Africans eating mosquito cakes, one cake contains hundreds of thousands of mosquitoes, and then they become such a powerful and terrifying beast. Mosquito Man. He was afraid that the tardigrades were too small, and eating only a few would not have the effect of beast transformation, so he collected a full biscuit tin box of moss and lichen, trying to collect as many tardigrades as possible from them. This is a tedious and time-consuming job. 3 hours passed, my eyes were tired, and I only found 12 tardigrades. Maybe these moss and lichen were not moistened for a long time, so many tardigrades were not squeezed out with the water. Let's stop here for today, and continue to look for them tomorrow after they have been moistened for a long time. Now that it is confirmed that this method can find tardigrades, there are still 3 days left to prepare. I cannot spend most of my time on tardigrades, which are not yet clear whether they can have the effect of beast transformation. He must first prepare the owl, electric eel, and bullet ant, and then he can calmly use the last time to find more tardigrades. I took my phone, and this afternoon he sent private messages to several bloggers who raised owls, electric eels, and ants, offering high prices for their creatures, not knowing if they had seen and replied. As a result, when I looked at it, I found that only the blogger who specializes in breeding insects and ants replied to him, saying that if the price is right, he can transfer some bullet ants to him. Zhou Jiming is a self-media blogger who specializes in raising various insects and makes money through live short video broadcasting. Initially, he made a name for himself by raising various ants, recording short videos, and streaming live ant battles. He attracted over 100,000 followers and made some money through these ant battles. After that, he started to raise more types of insects. Now his account has more than 300,000 followers. Recently, to satisfy the curiosity of his audience about bullet ants, he bought a small nest of bullet ants from the Amazon rainforest through a friend's introduction. At first, everyone enjoyed watching the fights between the bullet ants and other insects, and were amazed by the damage and venomous sting of the bullet ants. However, as people watched more and more, the popularity of the bullet ant versus insect and ant species battles gradually declined. While reading the comments and brainstorming various potential attractions for his audience, he saw my comment. As soon as he learned that I was interested in buying bullet ants at a high price, he immediately sent a private message with his address, intending to sell some bullet ants to cut his losses. The next morning, the first thing I did when I woke up was to check if the salamander I caught yesterday was dead. If it was dead, I would have to kill it and freeze it for cooking on the 1st of the month. Fortunately, the salamander was still alive and in good spirits. So, I brushed my teeth and washed my face in peace, then rode my motorcycle to the town market for breakfast. In the past, when I was poor, I had to be frugal with my food, clothing, and other expenses. Now, as the end of the world is approaching, social order will collapse and money will become worthless. So I no longer save money and eat whatever I want. After all, once the beast transformation disaster occurs and the world falls into chaos, there will be no more delicious food outside. A short while later, after having a full meal, I took a taxi directly to the neighboring city to find Zhou Jiming and buy the bullet ants to save time. Hello, I have arrived. I'm wearing a black t-shirt. Do you see me? I sent a message to him upon arrival. Are you Qin Shou? At the entrance of KFC, Zhou Jiming, a typical 20-something-year-old with an otaku image, looked at me surprisingly. He didn't expect the person who wanted to buy bullet ants from him to be a young lad who might not even be of legal age. That's right, how many bullet ants do you have? Is the price per ant? Before this, I had specifically searched the internet for ants like bullet ants that are not native to China. The general import cost is just a few yuan each, but they can be sold for 200 to 300 yuan each in China, showing that ant importation is extremely profitable. Zhou Jiming replied, I have a small nest of bullet ants here, about 80 in total. Now that the customs are strict, importing bullet ants is a situation where there is a price but no market. If you really want to buy, I can sell some to you at 400 yuan each. But are you of legal age? Are you buying bullet ants for breeding or what? They bite and sting and it's very painful and dangerous. I have to make sure you're not buying them for illegal activities, so I won't get in trouble in case anything happens. I immediately took out my ID card and showed it to him. Don't worry, I'm of legal age and I won't do anything illegal. Like you, I'm also an insect enthusiast and I want to buy bullet ants out of curiosity and to observe them firsthand. If you're still worried, you can also make a disclaimer contract. After Zhou Jiming saw my ID card and confirmed that I was of legal age and probably not buying for any bad purposes, he said, if you can accept the price I just mentioned, then I'll take you back to catch bullet ants. I took back my ID card. I can accept the price, but I need to see the condition of the bullet ants first. If they're all half dead, the price should be reduced, right? Let's go, I'll take you to see. Zhou Jiming rented a nearby apartment as an insect base and would come over during the day to broadcast live videos. When I arrived at the destination with him, I saw various glass tanks of different sizes, each containing a variety of insects. This looks like an Asian jungle scorpion, right? I didn't expect it to be so big in real life. Speaking of which, scorpions seem to have good defense and they are also highly poisonous. Should I also consider it? Zhou Jiming replied, this is not an Asian jungle scorpion, but an emperor scorpion, the largest scorpion in the world. The two largest ones I have are only 19 centimeters, which is not much. I didn't expect that there were not only king crabs in this world, but also emperor scorpions. I decided not to consider scorpions and asked, where are the bullet ants? They are all in the corner tank. Under normal circumstances, the lifespan of bullet ants can be up to 10 years. However, I often arrange for them to participate in insect PK, so there may be individual cases of injury and death. Overnight, several more bullet ants died, and Zhou Jiming felt heartbroken. That's money. He mournfully used tweezers to pick up the dead bullet ants and put them in a glass bottle for preservation. Seeing this, I immediately asked, do you save all the dead bullet ants and not throw them away? Zhou Jiming replied, I don't bother with ordinary ants, but bullet ants are not found in China. They can be kept for display and specimen making. I asked, if I buy 50 bullet ants at the price you quoted, can you give me some ant corpses? Are you sure you want to buy 50? That's 20,000 yuan. Zhou Jiming spent exactly 20,000 yuan to buy this nest of bullet ants. Originally, there were more than 100, but now there are only 70 or 80 left. So selling 50 would make back his investment, and he was happy to agree. I immediately took out my phone. It's just 20,000 yuan, I can transfer the money to you now. So this kid is a rich second generation. I was rash, I should have quoted a higher price, but now Zhou Jiming couldn't go back on his word, so he agreed readily. Okay, then I'll get you 50 bullet ants and give you 20 dead ones. As I was scanning the QR code to transfer money, I said, "Can you also give me some ordinary ants? Dead or alive is fine." Okay. Ordinary ants can be found everywhere, and Zhou Ximing was not stingy, but he was a little curious about why this kid wanted the dead ones too. While Zhou Ximing was catching the bullet ants, I started to curiously observe the various peculiar insects around. At this moment, I was attracted by two beetles that looked like two iron lumps and asked, "What kind of beetles are these? Are they also imported?" "Yes, they are iron ingot beetles, imported from America, not found in China." I just responded and didn't intend to continue asking, but Zhou Ximing suddenly became excited and started explaining, "You obviously don't know much about beetles. These iron ingot beetles are very famous. They are the hardest beetles in the world. Even if you step on them hard or drive over them, they won't be affected. The exoskeleton of the iron ingot beetle is so strong that it can withstand nearly 40,000 times its own body weight in external force. In other words, if they were to be enlarged proportionally, they would be the strongest defense and hardest body in nature." Listening to Zhou Ximing's introduction, I suddenly looked at the iron ingot beetles with greedy eyes. I didn't expect to come here to buy bullet ants and have such a pleasant surprise. Looking at the two iron ingot beetles in front of me, I was suddenly reminded of the two invincible iron-armored beasts from my past life that swept everything in their path and were unmatched. Now thinking about it, he suddenly felt that the two iron-armored beasts looked a bit like these iron ingot beetles, but magnified 1,000 times. Could it be such a coincidence? When the beast transformation disaster struck, not only did humans who ate meat during the day undergo beast transformation, but animals and insects also underwent beast transformation or evolutionary mutations. For instance, the tigers in the zoo. If they happened to eat chicken just before the beast transformation disaster, they would become even more powerful during the transformation, turning into flying tigers with chicken wings, capable of short flights. If the tigers did not eat any meat that day, they would undergo pure evolutionary mutations like herbivorous animals, generally becoming more powerful and larger in size. The same is true for insects. Even ordinary mosquitoes could undergo beast transformation after the beast transformation disaster, with the weak ones growing tens of times larger, and the strong ones growing hundreds or even thousands of times larger. However, the transformation process is particularly painful, and it is said that the smaller the animal, the lower the chance of successful transformation. The vast majority would die due to their bodies being too weak to withstand the massive energy during the transformation process, coupled with the lack of sufficient food energy around them. However, such small creatures as insects, once they successfully transform, become incredibly powerful, and the most terrifying thing is that all successfully transformed animals can infinitely enhance and evolve by eating each other's flesh, and that beast spirit beads formed inside the other's body through the law of the jungle. So I couldn't help but wonder, were the two iron-armored beasts from my past life, which killed like hemp, swept everything, and were unscathed by tank shells, evolved from these two iron ingot beetles? The more I thought about it, the more possible it seemed. Zhou Ximing said they were the strongest defensive beetles with the hardest bodies, so the beast transformation process that most insects could not withstand might not be a big deal to them. Moreover, there were so many insects in this room. It was like a natural biological energy supply station. So the insects undergoing beast transformation could continue to eat other insects to replenish their energy, increasing the likelihood of successful transformation. The more I thought about it, the more I felt that the two unbeatable iron-armored beasts were evolved from these two iron ingot beetles, since there were so many insects in Zhou Ximing's room, especially ants. The insects that died during the transformation process were natural energy supplements, fully capable of satisfying multiple insects to complete the beast transformation evolution. Perhaps the two iron-armored beasts completed the transformation in this way, and then evolved into iron-armored beasts as big as tanks by hunting and devouring more transformed animals and humans. There are no such coincidences in the world, and the truth may be very close to my guess. I suppressed my excitement and joy, and quietly listed these two iron ingot beetles as beast transformation food. He asked calmly, "These two iron ingot beetles of yours must have been expensive, right?" As Zhou Ximing caught ants, he replied, "They're not too bad abroad, but bringing them back to the country requires going through customs or smuggling, so the price is a bit high. Don't look down on them because they're small. In fact, many of them are worth thousands or even tens of thousands." I asked, "What's the cheapest price for these two iron ingot beetles? I want to buy some for experiments to see if they really can't be crushed by cars." Knowing that the other party was a rich second generation who didn't lack money, Zhou Ximing was smarter this time. "You can forget about it. It took me several months to get these two iron ingot beetles. There's no way I'm selling them to you. I made a direct offer. I can pay 5,000 for each." Zhou Ximing was tempted, but he still pretended to be indifferent to money and refused. "It's not about the money. In any case, I can't sell these two iron ingot beetles." I knew Zhou Ximing was trying to bait me into offering a higher price, so I didn't bother to argue with him. I simply said, 10,000 for each. If you still don't want to sell, just forget I asked. Zhou Ximing thought to himself that he really was a rich second generation with more money than sense, and continued to play along. "It's really not about the money, because even with money, it's not easy to buy these iron ingot beetles in our country. After saying that, he sighed and decided to make a painful concession. Well, since you like them so much, I'll reluctantly let you have them. I didn't haggle and transferred him 20,000 right away. So the money I borrowed little by little yesterday is now down to just over 10,000. I still need this money to buy the American electric eel and the owl. Thinking of this, I simply asked Zhou Zhiming if he had any leads. By the way, do you know anyone who keeps American electric eels? Why, you're not thinking of buying an American electric eel, are you? That's right, I'm also interested in American electric eels. I want to do an experiment to see if they really can electrocute cows and horses. The life of a rich second generation is really extravagant. Whatever they're interested in, they don't hesitate to spend money to satisfy their curiosity. Well, you're asking the right person. I happen to know a friend who keeps electric eels. I can ask for you. Zhou Zhiming was telling the truth. Among his internet celebrity friends, there really was a weirdo who liked to keep electric eels. That guy was known as the electric eel killer. Every time he bought an electric eel, it wouldn't last long before he killed it. Just a few days ago, that friend had bought an American electric eel, and now the eel was not doing well. It might die in a few days. So having someone take it off his hands at this time was like doing a public service. So he sent a message to that friend, saying that a rich second generation with more money than sense wanted to buy an American electric eel, and his friend immediately replied after catching 50 bullet ants. Zhou Zhiming finally checked his phone and told me, he replied, he has an American electric eel to sell, but he doesn't offer delivery. You have to pick it up yourself, in case it dies during delivery and causes some economic dispute. I asked, which city is he in? Zhou Zhiming replied, he's in the provincial capital. It's just over 100 kilometers from here to his house, not very far. I nodded, okay, ask him for the price. If it's reasonable, I'll go pick it up later. Zhou Zhiming asked and then looked at the price his friend quoted, thinking to himself, who's he looking down on with just 5,000 yuan? So he doubled the price, planning to make a profit from the middleman's difference, saying, he replied, this is the only American electric eel he has, and since I introduced you, he'll give you the lowest price of 10,000. If you're really interested, I can take you there later. I also need to shoot a video with him. Okay. I agreed readily. Zhou Zhiming thought of him as a rich second generation with more money than sense, and he thought of Zhou Zhiming as someone who, no matter how much money he earned from him, would only end up with useless numbers, useless waste paper. I laughed. Just as the saying goes, others laugh at me for being too extravagant, I laugh at others for not seeing the truth. Now that the American electric eel is also sorted, the only animal left in the beast transformation food is the owl. Soon, Zhou Zhiming packed up the bullet ants and iron ingot beetles that I had purchased at a high price. He even generously gave me the bodies of 20 to 30 bullet ants, along with a jar containing hundreds of ordinary ants. I also took some mealworms, as I would need to feed them for a couple of days when I got back to I. And this way, I successfully purchased the bullet ants and even had an unexpected delight of buying 2 iron ingot beetles, which were highly likely to be the original bodies of ironclad beasts. Then, I took Zhou Zhiming's car to the provincial city to buy American electric eels. Upon reaching the destination, I looked at the half-dead eel in the aquarium, which was not lively at all. After confirming it was the American electric eel I wanted, I directly transferred 10,000 to the seller and packed it up. You'd better take it back as soon as possible to warm it up and oxygenate it, otherwise, it might die if it suffocates for too long. The seller packed it in a transparent plastic bag filled with water and oxygen, but this little oxygen wouldn't last long. I didn't care, saying, no problem, if it dies, I'll just add it to tonight's meal. I've heard that American electric eel meat is delicious. I wonder if that's true. Zhou Zhiming and his companion were initially worried that the eel would die on the way and I would ask for a refund, but after hearing my indifferent words, they were completely relieved. They even regretted quoting a low price. It seemed that even if they had asked for 20,000, this rich and foolish second generation would have been willing to buy it. At that moment, I asked again, do you know any friends who raise owls? Both of them shook their heads. Zhou Zhiming said, domestically bred owls can generally be bought in the pet market, but don't even think about wild ones. Buying and catching them is illegal. Alright, I bid them farewell. Since I was in the provincial city, I decided to try my luck at the local pet market to see if there were any owls for sale. Although domestically bred ones are not as good as wild ones, they still have powerful night vision and hearing. And I must have night vision after my beast transformation, otherwise, the night would become the home ground for nocturnal animals, and animals and humans without night vision could only hide, unable to even get a good night's sleep. If they encountered a poisonous insect or mosquito that had successfully undergone beast transformation and had its size and abilities enhanced by dozens of times, they might lose their lives. This is why the first ingredient for my beast transformation is an owl.in. The end, I was lucky. I spent 3,000 yuan and bought a good-looking owl at the pet market. Now all the beast transformation ingredients I want to get are ready, and I can go back and find more tardigrades with peace of mind. I took a taxi back home with a cheerful mood that I began to look forward to the arrival of the beast transformation disaster. In the evening, I got home. The provincial city was 300 kilometers away, almost a 4-hour drive, so when I got home, I found the American electric eel had stiffened and was motionless. poor eel, it couldn't even enjoy a day of luxury with me before dying on the road. I put away the ants and iron ingot beetles, immediately went to the kitchen to sharpen the knife, slaughtered the eel, then froze the meat in the refrigerator to be cooked and eaten before the beast transformation disaster, according to speculation. The reason why everyone's beast transformation characteristics are related to the animals they ate during the day is likely because the pieces of animal meat they ate were not fully digested. Then these pieces of meat in the stomach would also be affected by the beast transformation disaster, causing a beast transformation energy reaction. So, the energy reaction of these pieces of meat caused the human body to mutate, forming the so-called beast transformation, and integrating the appearance characteristics of the consumed animal and gaining the innate abilities of the consumed animal. Of course, this is just a speculation in many people's minds. The specific truth of the beast transformation, I didn't figure out until after my death and rebirth. 2 days later, on August 31st, I ended the eye-straining task of finding tardigrades that if eating tardigrades could also cause a beast transformation reaction. Then these more than 200 tardigrades should be enough. I turned on the sterilizing ultraviolet light to kill the dozens of tardigrades I found today. To ensure that there were no other undigested animal meats in my stomach on the day of the beast transformation. I had been eating vegetarian for 2 consecutive days. Now there's only 6,000 left in the balance, and this money will be useless after tomorrow. Let's go out and spend it all. By the way, let's see if there are any handy weapons in the iron shop in the town. Ordinary knives couldn't stand a few slashes in a fight and would be ruined. If I gained the innate abilities of the ant and the electric eel in the upcoming transformation, then a giant axe or a giant hammer would be the most suitable weapons for me. Unfortunately, I went to several shops selling iron and farming tools in the town, and the largest axes and hammers they had were only around 10 kilograms. There were no larger ones. Reluctantly, I bought an 8-kilogram hammer. This was specifically used by workers for breaking walls, and it could be useful when facing ordinary beast transformers and strange beasts in the early stages of the beast transformation disaster. But a month later, many beast transformers and strange beasts became much stronger, and by then, I would need to replace it with a stronger weapon. Otherwise, in hand-to-hand combat, human beast transformers would have almost no chance of winning against powerful strange beasts. After buying the hammer, I went to the market and saw some crocodile meat for sale. So, I bought 5 kilograms and found a pork butcher with a meat grinder, paid him some money to grind the crocodile meat into minced meat. In addition, I bought a lot of chocolate, mainly because during the beast transformation process, in addition to extreme pain, there would also be extreme hunger. Chocolate is high in energy, and it should come in handy at that time. Moreover, I planned to stuff the bodies of ordinary ants into the chocolate and give it to a few classmates who were on good terms with me to eat. I wanted to see if just eating a few ants would also give them the characteristics and innate abilities of ants after the beast transformation. After a shopping spree, the 6,000 was almost gone, most of which was spent on a rather expensive mechanical watch. When the network and electricity were paralyzed, the benefits of a mechanical watch or a pocket watch would be revealed. Otherwise, people could only distinguish between day and night, and they couldn't tell the specific time. When I got home, I went to my room and turned off the sterilizing ultraviolet light. The dozens of tardigrades I found today were all dead and couldn't be deader. I collected them all into a small vial, placed it on the microscope, and it was full of tardigrade bodies. While there was still time, I roasted and crushed the ordinary ants, melted the chocolate, and made dozens of ant chocolate beans. As for the 5 kilograms of crocodile meat that had been ground into minced meat, I made them into meatballs and planned to take them to school tomorrow to give to the class teacher who had been kind to me, as well as to the classmates who had a good relationship with me. As for the others, whether they live or die, I didn't want to bother. I didn't want to be a savior, and I couldn't be, because I knew clearly that even if I told everyone that tomorrow would be the end of the world, no one would believe me. So, I didn't want to waste time and emotions doing things that only saints would be willing to do. Besides, most humans are selfish. If someone really believed me and made arrangements in advance, and became stronger than me after the beast transformation, it would also be a threat to me at that time. After all, when choosing between hunting powerful strange beasts and hunting human beast transformers, the vast majority of humans would choose to hunt their own kind, because there's a beast spirit pearl in the belly of human beast transformers, and hunting and swallowing the beast spirit pearl could make them stronger. Even the beast spirit pearl in the belly of weak human beast transformers could make them stronger to some extent after being swallowed. It was because of this knowledge that humans, who were originally united, immediately began to kill each other. I was killed by my own kind and then reborn, but in this life, I won't let myself become prey again. September 1st, the beginning of the school year. However, I did not report to school. With the apocalypse looming, who gives a damn about school? In order to be well rested for the beastly transformation disaster tonight, I slept until I naturally awoke. By the time I woke up, it was already 9 o'clock. I picked up my muted phone and saw several missed calls from my homeroom teacher. She had also sent a message asking why I hadn't come to school and even asked if I had taken a microscope from the school laboratory on the evening of the 28th. It seemed that a teacher had discovered the broken lock and the missing microscope, and then found me through the corridor surveillance. If it weren't for my excellent academic performance and the fact that I was a student in need, many teachers would have thought of me as a model student of both conduct and learning. They might have even called the police. Of course, it's also possible that the school principal wanted to call the police, but was stopped by my homeroom teacher. At this point, I replied to her message, honestly saying, not just the microscope, but also the alcohol lamp, volumetric flask, test tube, beaker, tweezers, dropper. After replying to my homeroom teacher, I looked at the other unread messages. A few of my closest friends had also sent worried messages. I replied to the one I was closest to, nicknamed Zhong. In the past, I studied hard so as not to disappoint my grandfather. Now that my grandfather is no longer here, I see no need to continue my studies, so I've decided to drop out. By the way, don't eat lunch. I'm going to treat you all to a farewell meal at noon. Consider it a thank you for not looking down on me, for caring about me, and for looking out for me during this time. Also, please pass the message on to Zhao Bin, Wen Chao, Jia, Shi Ting, and Meng Xia. They were the ones who remained friendly to me before and after the beastly transformation disaster. They never ridiculed or ostracized me because I was poor, an orphan, or because my name sounded like Beast, unlike certain classmates who not only gave me the nickname Beast behind my back, but also distanced themselves from me because I was dirty from collecting waste with my grandfather during the holidays. They gave me the cold shoulder. Although these classmates never said anything unpleasant to my face, they did say a lot behind my back and in their hearts. That's why they distanced themselves from me and didn't want to have any interaction with me. So, apart from a few close friends, I couldn't care less about the rest of my classmates, whether they live or die. Otherwise, I wouldn't mind buying some more crocodile meat or collecting more ants, so that they could all transform into powerful beasts and have some ability to protect themselves in the early stages of the apocalypse. At this point, my homeroom teacher called again. I answered the call. A worried woman's voice came through the phone. What's wrong with you? Are you facing any difficulties? Nothing, I replied. Then why didn't you come to school? Why did you take the microscope and other lab equipment a few days ago? Lu Ru initially thought I must be facing financial difficulties, which made me sneak into school and steal the microscope, but she firmly believed I was not that kind of bad student who would steal things because of a lack of money. Furthermore, if it were really because of a lack of money that I stole something, then with my high IQ and excellent academic performance, I definitely wouldn't expose myself in the corridor surveillance. I would find a way to cover the surveillance, cut the surveillance wires, and then quietly empty the most valuable computers in the computer room. Therefore, after calming down, she thought I must have some unspeakable reasons for sneaking into the school to take the microscope. So she stopped the principal from calling the police, and took the responsibility and loss upon herself. At this moment, I answered her, I just wanted to do an experiment, so I snuck in to borrow the microscope and other equipment, and then planned to return them when school started, but then I decided to drop out, so I didn't return them right away. But don't worry, I will make time to come over at noon and return them to the school. Upon hearing my decision to drop out, Lu Ru hurriedly advised, don't think like that, you need to finish your senior year, understand? If you really have any difficulties, you can talk to your teacher, we can help you. The image of my homeroom teacher's comical appearance after her transformation flashed through my mind, followed by a tragic and bloody scene after the beastly transformation disaster. Like many students, my homeroom teacher Lu Ru had turned into something resembling Zhu Bajia, with rough skin, big ears, and a fat head. But even though she had become as ugly as Zhu Bajia, she still comforted the students who had also turned into grotesque creatures with the same gentleness and patience. She always stood up and maintained order, protected the students, and inspired everyone. However, in less than 2 days, everyone's increased appetite after the transformation had consumed all the food reserves in the school. The students had to go out to find food. So Lu Ru led the boys in the class to collect supplies, but they encountered a giant dog-like beast. She, who stood in front of the students, was killed by the beast. Recalling the bloody process of her being torn and bitten to death, I couldn't help but say, the best help you can give me today is not to eat a piece of pork. Lu Ru. What the hell? What does this have to do with whether or not I eat pork? I bluffed. There's been a swine fever and avian flu outbreak recently, and many chickens, ducks, and pigs in the town have died. So I'm reminding you not to eat chicken, duck, or pork. Also, I've decided to invite a few close friends to a farewell lunch at noon. I've already notified Zhao Bin and the others. You should come too. Who knows, this might be the last time we see each other. As for the other teachers, I didn't invite them. The main reason is that after the beastly transformation disaster, a few teachers I had a good impression of became extremely selfish. They even used their status as teachers to command students to stand in front, and they were the first to step forward when there were benefits. Therefore, except for Lu Ru, who was truly willing to consider the students and sacrificed herself to stop the beast for the safety of the students, the other teachers in my heart are not worthy of the title teacher. Alright, it's settled then, see you at noon. I didn't give Lu Ru a chance to continue persuading me. I just hung up the phone, put it back on mute, and left it to charge. After getting up and brushing my teeth and washing my face, I put on my new stretchy clothes. I went to the refrigerator to take out the American electric eel that had been frozen for 2 days, as well as the crocodile meatballs I had made, and started to defrost them. While the eel meat and crocodile meatballs needed some time to defrost, I killed the owl and salamander. First. To ensure that I wouldn't throw up from disgust, I put a lot of effort into this beastly transformation meal: water bear soaked in cola, owl stewed with American ginseng, salamander wrapped in breadcrumbs and fried until golden brown. 50 live bullet ants, plus the bodies of 20 or 30 bullet ants given by Zhou Jiming, were blanched to retain the original flavor of the bullet ants. As for the American electric eel, I planned to steam it directly with a few slices of ginger after it. Defrosted. As for the 2 hard ironclad beetles, I decided to roast them until they were cooked, then cut them into small pieces and force myself to swallow them. The prepared crocodile meatballs and ant chocolate, which had been fused with normal ant carcass powder, were the beastly transformation food I had prepared for my homeroom teacher and a few friends. I would just fry the crocodile meatballs a bit later and then pack them up to treat them. 2 hours later, the beastly transformation meal was ready. I packed them up and put them in my backpack, then put on my carefully prepared beastly cuisine, took my big hammer, got on my motorcycle, and headed for the county high school. Boss, 7 orders of braised rabbit heads, please. I've booked a private room in a restaurant near the school, ordering a rabbit head for each of my teachers and close friends. Since rabbits are nocturnal animals capable of seeing clearly in the dark, these 7 servings of braised rabbit heads are meant for my teacher and 6 friends. Theoretically, after the beast transformation disaster strikes, they should be able to acquire the talents of rabbits by consuming these rabbit heads, thus gaining night vision and agility akin to that of rabbits. In addition to rabbit heads, I also ordered vegetables and rice. I decided to pass on other meats. The meat served outside is generally poultry, and chickens, ducks, and pigs are the weakest animals. If one consumes chicken, duck, or pig meat before the beast transformation, they would only transform into weaker beast versions of these animals. Almost half of the population across the country will be related to chickens, ducks, and pigs after the beast transformation, followed by cows and sheep. Soon after ordering, I started sending messages to my teacher, Ms. Lu Ru, and my friends, inviting them to this famous braised rabbit head restaurant for lunch while the boss was preparing them. Braised rabbit heads. I asked his wife for a large plate and dumped the crocodile meatballs I had brought from home onto it. I also prepared ant chocolates for them, divided into 7 small bags, each containing 5 chocolates, each the size of a thumb, and each chocolate containing the powdered remains of 4 or 5 ordinary ants. Soon, my teacher, Ms. Lu Ru, arrived at the restaurant first. Seeing her rushing over in a hurry, I didn't want to listen to her lecturing and was the first to speak. Don't try to persuade me, or I'll leave. Lu Ru. I didn't say anything. She pulled up a chair, sat next to me, and asked, "Now that you've decided to drop out of school, what do you plan to do next?" "Get a job." I replied, "All roads lead to Rome, as the textbook says, so studying is not the only way out, and not studying does not mean that there will be no future." At this moment, the footsteps and voices of several people came from outside. The 6 classmates I invited came together. "Ashu, what's going on? Why did you drop out of school all of a sudden?" "Qin, is what Ah Zhong said true?" The 4 boys and 2 girls immediately started asking questions as soon as they entered the room. Seeing that everyone was here, I solemnly said, "I used to study hard to not disappoint my grandfather, but now that my grandfather is gone, I no longer have the need to continue. So I decided to leave here and travel around. The world is so big, I think I should be able to find a place to forget my sorrows, right? And doesn't it also say in the book that traveling 10,000 miles is better than reading 10,000 books? I've had a miserable 18 years, with no memories of my parents. My mother abandoned me after my father died from a work injury, and my grandfather raised me with great difficulty. I originally wanted to study hard, get into Tsinghua or Peking University to make my grandfather happy, and let him enjoy his later years. But now that my only relative is gone, the fact that I can still face life bravely and not seek death is already amazing. So please stop trying to persuade me, enjoy this meal with me, then see me off, and wish me a smooth journey, okay?" Everyone suddenly fell silent. Ms. Lu Ru frowned, no longer planning to persuade me. Zhang Yunzhong and others didn't know what to say for a while. "Alright, it's not like we're parting in life and death and we'll never see each other again, so don't make the atmosphere so sad." Seeing them acting as if it was a life and death farewell, I couldn't help but think of the death process of Ms. Lu Ru, class leader Wang Shiding, Zhang Yunzhong, and myself. Among the 8 of them, more than half died within 1 or 2 months after the beast transformation disaster, except for Ms. Lu Ru and Zhang Yunzhong, who died in the claws of the beasts. They all died at the hands of their own kind. This is the tragic state of the end of the world after the beast transformation disaster. The constantly evolving beasts are already enough to make weak human beast transformers feel desperate. But a month later, when the news spread and more people learned that there was a beast spirit bead in the bodies of beasts and human beast transformers, and that they could continue to mutate and become stronger by swallowing the beast spirit bead, people began to kill each other. And the threat from their own kind far exceeded that from beasts. In their previous life, most of them died at the hands of their own kind. This time in the rebirth, I changed my own fate and tried my best to change theirs as well. Ms. Lu Ru looked at me with pity and said in a pitying tone, "Then you take care of yourself and be safe. If you encounter any difficulties, you can always find your teacher, don't always bear it alone." Zhang Yunzhong echoed, that's right, if you consider us as brothers and friends, you should share your happiness with us in the future, and if you're unhappy, you should confide in us. If you have time in the future, you can always come back to play with us. No problem. I signaled, let's start eating. These fish balls were made at home and brought over by me. Try them and see if they're good. Everyone started eating the delicious crocodile meatballs at my invitation. How is it? Is the taste okay? I was quite curious because I hadn't eaten crocodile meat before. Zhang Yunzhong commented, it's okay, but the taste is a bit bland. Lu Ru also nodded, it's quite good. I didn't expect you to make fish balls. And what kind of fish balls are these? It seems to taste a bit like chicken. Now, whenever I hear the word chicken, I get annoyed because in my previous life, I ate yellow braised chicken for lunch and dinner in the school cafeteria before the beast transformation disaster, and then became a weak chicken beast transformer, which led to my pathetic death. I hid the truth and said, it's just ordinary fish balls. If they're delicious, eat more. There are exactly 10 per person, don't waste them. As I spoke, I picked up my chopsticks and started dividing the fish balls among them. Zhang Yunzhong said while eating, don't just give us, you should eat too. I patted my stomach and made an excuse to get out of it, I've already eaten. Now I'm here specifically to treat you to a meal and say goodbye. Soon, the boss brought over 7 whole pieces of braised rabbit heads. Zhang Yunzhong and the others were able to accept eating rabbit heads, but Ms. Lu Ru and the 2 female students were a bit resistant. Rabbits are so cute, how can we eat them? But under my moral kidnapping, they had to try the taste of braised rabbit heads. Then, it's delicious, rabbits are so cute, how can we only eat rabbit heads? What about the rabbit's body? What about the meaty rabbit body, after treating them to this high-quality beast transformation meal and giving them chocolates? I took out 7 bags of chocolates and distributed them. After dinner dessert, this is the chocolate I made according to the tutorial online. I hope that in the future, like chocolate, I can find sweetness in bitterness and have a sweet ending. This meal and the chocolate gift might seem a bit shabby, but I hope you won't despise it. When I'm capable in the future, I'll treat you to a better feast and give you better gifts. Everyone felt awkward after receiving the chocolate because I came to say goodbye and not only treated them to a meal but also gave handmade chocolates as gifts. They came empty-handed. I could see their embarrassment at a glance, and said, I know you all care for me and feel guilty and embarrassed because you didn't have time to buy me a gift due to the suddenness of the situation. So how about this, each of you transfer me $10. As if you're buying me a gift. Zhang Yunzhong said, who are you looking down on with $10? Although my living allowance is not much, I can save $200 a month by being frugal, so this $200 is the money I saved to buy you a gift. They all seem to understand that for me, money is more meaningful than gifts, so everyone transferred me $200. You transferred too much, it's like I came to collect money. I said helplessly, and then seeing that it was about time, I shouted, boss, check please. Ms. Lu Ru immediately got up to pay the bill. This meal is on me, consider it as my gift to you. It just so happened that I spent all my money yesterday. If Lu Ru treats, then I don't have to continue to loan online, and Zhang Yunzhong and the others transferred me $200 each, adding up to $1,200, which is enough for me to go to the city center and open a luxury suite in a high-end hotel near the zoo. Then I'm going. I bid everyone farewell, and then reminded them, by the way, don't give the chocolates to other classmates. Besides you who truly care for me, the feeling that other classmates give me is very superficial, so I don't want the chocolates that I made with heart and gave to my respected teachers and friends to be eaten by people I don't like. Zhang Yunzhong showed off his chocolate right in front of me, saying, there's so little that it's not enough for me to eat, how could I give it to others? Seeing this, I was relieved. Next, when the beast transformation disaster strikes, they should all have the ability to protect themselves. In this way, I can go on an adventure with peace of mind and plan everything. The microscope and other experimental equipment are at my house. Zhong, take the teacher to my house to fetch them after class tomorrow. I will tell you where the key is hidden. Having instructed them, I formally bid everyone farewell. He had done everything he could and should do, and now, it's all up to fate. Goodbye. With a bag full of chocolates and a luxurious, beast-transforming meal on my back, I rode my motorcycle towards the city center zoo, watching my retreating figure and the large hammer tied to the back of the motorcycle. Zhang Yunzhong and the others misunderstood, thinking that I had taken up hard labor on a construction site to afford their meal. Poor soul. Lu Ru and the others had mixed feelings. 3 in the afternoon I booked a luxurious room in a hotel near the city center's zoo. That beast-transforming disaster in my previous life happened at 5 in the evening, which meant I had only 2 hours left. Let's dig in. I took out the carefully packed, beast-transforming meal from my bag and decided to start with the iron beetle. To make swallowing easier, he dismembered the iron beetle. Now he didn't chew, but swallowed the pieces of the 2 iron beetles bit by bit. Taking a sip of cola infused with the bodies of over 200 tardigrades, I started eating a whole owl stewed with ginseng. Perhaps because the meat was permeated with the taste of ginseng, I found it tasted no different from chicken or Pigeon, soon, all that was left of the whole owl were the inedible bones and beak. I didn't waste any part that could be eaten or swallowed. He hypothesized that the strength of the animal talent acquired after beast transformation depended on how much of the animal's meat was eaten. So, he thought it best to eat a whole one, so that after the beast transformation, he might acquire almost complete talent abilities. After finishing a bowl of slightly bitter owl ginseng soup, I started eating the newt, which was coated in breadcrumbs and fried until golden. This was the most repulsive and hard to swallow item in the beast transforming meal. But to acquire the newt's extraordinary regenerative ability, I endured and swallowed it without chewing, just like the iron beetle. After a break, I started eating the heaviest item, the American electric eel. Finally, only the bullet ant was left that I didn't chew, but swallowed them down with the tardigrade cola as if taking medicine. This meal, darker than dark cuisine, took me a full hour to finish. It's 4 o'clock, the beast transforming disaster will descend in an hour. I looked out the window, the room I booked had a view of the sunset. When the sun turned blood red at sunset and the moon in the sky also turned a bloody red, it meant the beast transforming disaster was about to descend. In my previous life, no one knew how this beast transforming disaster happened, but many guessed it was caused by the sun, because from that day on, the sun turned into a blood Sunday. This made every night's moon also present a bewitching red color, turning into a dimly lit blood moon. But many others speculated that the beast transformation had nothing to do with the sun, because this beast transforming disaster occurred globally at the same time. If it was related to the sun, then areas that didn't have the sun or couldn't see the moon at that time wouldn't have shown signs of beast transformation. So they believed that the sun was likely also a victim, also affected by this beast transforming disaster. But what the truth was, I no longer dwelled on. Humans are too small in this mysterious universe. Now, I just wanted to change my fate, to transform into a powerful existence, then live a little longer, a little more comfortably. If given the chance, he also wanted to experience the power of ultimate beast transformation. Before his rebirth in his previous life, the first so-called ultimate evolution, beast transformer, emerged in the country. Not only could he control his beast transforming state and revert to his original human form, but he could also undergo ultimate beast transformation, turning into a humanoid giant beast. And this was a beast transformation evolution phenomenon that occurred only 2 months after the beast transforming disaster descended. So, I believe that this so-called ultimate beast transformation is perhaps just a stage in the beast transformation, and there should be further beast transformation evolution to come. At 4:50 in the afternoon, the sun began to show a bewitching red color, and the sunset turned from orange to orange red. People could only see an unusually beautiful sunset, failing to see the end of the world warning contained within. Suddenly, my stomach started to ache slightly. Has it started? Holding my stomach, I left the window of the room and sat back on the bed. No, in my previous life, the painful beast transformation phenomenon didn't occur until after 5 in the evening. I started having stomach pains 10 minutes early. Could it be food poisoning? I felt my stomach getting more and more painful. Tardigrades, bullet ants, newts, owls, American electric eels, iron beetles. Of all the items in this beast transforming meal, the American electric eel could barely be considered normal food. The others were things normal people wouldn't dare to eat. So, my current stomach pain might really have nothing to do with beast transformation, but is a sign of food poisoning from these things. Damn it, I calculated everything but forgot to consider whether these foods would cause poisoning. I curled up in pain on the bed and my stomach hurt more and more, as if countless knives were cutting through my stomach and intestines. I have to endure. As long as I endure until the beast transformation begins and acquire the talents of these animals I've eaten, I'll be safe. Eating tardigrades might not help, but eating a newt definitely would. As long as I transform into a beast and acquire the newt's regenerative ability, even if I cut out my agonizingly painful stomach, it could grow back. Just when I was in so much pain I wanted to scream, a woman in the room next door beat me to it. Did the beast transformation start early in this life? Just as I thought this, I faintly heard a thumping sound, followed by a woman's scream mixed with a faster, that made my face go dark. Damn, the people next door were really doing it. Originally, I thought if the beast transformation had started early, then my stomach pain wasn't due to food poisoning, but it seems now that I most likely have food poisoning. A few minutes later, there was no more noise from next door. Unable to continue eavesdropping to distract myself, I felt my stomach pain intensify. At this point, I suddenly wondered, if the woman next door swallowed millions of tadpoles, what would happen to her during the beast transformation? This interesting question successfully helped me distract my attention and endure until the beast transforming disaster descended. Outside the window, the sun had turned into a blood sun, so red it seemed to be dripping blood. In the sky, the high-hanging round moon had also become a blood moon. The dome of the sky and the clouds were all covered in a layer of blood red. The beast transforming disaster descended once again. Ah! The couple in the next room screamed again, but this time it wasn't a joyful yell, it was a painful wail that I had finally endured it. He forcefully stripped off his clothes. Now, he couldn't feel the stomach pain anymore, because his whole body, inside and out, was experiencing waves of tearing pain. The blood in his body seemed to be boiling, sweat like blood seeping through every pore of his skin. soaking and staining the white quilt on the bed. His back was both painful and itchy, as if something was trying to burst out. There were multiple ruptures on his skin, the blood vessels and veins trapped inside were clearly visible, throbbing wildly. His eyes hurt as if he were blind. Suddenly, I couldn't see clearly, and my ears started to buzz, like severe tinnitus. He gritted his teeth, feeling like they were about to shatter, and blood seeped from his gums. The taste buds on his tongue tasted the strong blood. Although the beast transformation in his previous life was painful, he was still able to stay conscious and endure it. However, this time the pain of the beast transformation was too exaggerated to the point where he began to worry if he would die. Ah! I couldn't bear it any longer. I let out a heart-wrenching scream, scaring the couple in the next room. Then, he who had been blinded by pain suddenly saw his grandfather. Am I going to die? I couldn't feel the pain anymore. His consciousness suddenly plunged into a dark abyss. He felt like he was dead, but not completely dead. So is this the phenomenon of brain consciousness appearing at the moment of death? I wanted to vomit blood in frustration. In his previous life, he had 2 meals of braised chicken, turned into a weak chicken man, and died in this beast transformation apocalypse in just 2 months. Now, after all the difficulties of rebirth, after all the preparations and plans, thinking about changing his fate against the sky, winning at the starting line of the beast transformation. But this time he died during the beast transformation process. Damn it, it's not fair to discuss people like this. I regretted it. If I had known earlier, I wouldn't have been greedy. I wouldn't have pursued the ultimate beast transformation. Perhaps it was because of the pursuit of the ultimate beast transformation, the prepared beast transformation ingredients with powerful talent abilities were a bit too much, so the body couldn't bear it during the beast transformation process and died. Damn it, I cursed and regretted at the same time. Gradually, his consciousness began to blur, as if there was a black hole in the dark abyss, slowly swallowing up all his brain consciousness. An hour later, almost all humans and animals around the world have completed the beast transformation, except for the vegetarians who didn't show any changes and didn't feel any pain. Everyone else and animals went through unbearable pain, as if forcibly shedding their skin and bones during the beast transformation process. Near the zoo, in the hotel I was staying in, the man and woman in the next room were scared by each other's monstrous looks after they recovered from the beast transformation. The man's mouth suddenly became sharp like a chicken's beak, his hair also turned into chicken feathers, and he even grew a chicken crest on his head. Besides, all the places on his body with lush hair were full of fluffy chicken feathers, making the man look like a man covered in chicken feathers. If I saw this scene, he would definitely feel very familiar because in his previous life he had become a similar weak chicken man, only his mouth was normal and didn't become like a chicken's beak. Seeing this, the woman was scared and let out a pig scream. Then with a thud, she fell heavily onto the floor. The man who had transformed into a weak chicken was also startled, seriously doubting whether he was dreaming. How could he suddenly feel pain and roll around, and then finally recover, get up from the floor, only to see a naked Pigsy lying on the bed? He hadn't reacted yet. The Pigsy seemed to have seen a monster, suddenly screamed in fright, then backed away and fell heavily from the bed. Grass. Am I seeing a ghost? The weak chicken man was about to slap himself to see if he was dreaming, but the moment he raised his hand, he was startled by his right hand, which was sharp like a chicken claw and covered with chicken feathers on his arm. He seemed to know why the naked Pigsy on the bed suddenly screamed in fright when she saw him. What the hell is going on? The weak chicken man slapped himself, then walked into the bathroom in pain, looking at his human-like chicken figure in the mirror, his eyes full of horror and doubt. At the same time, people all over the world who have completed the beast transformation phenomenon have similar reactions. In the high school I attended. This moment, the whole school was boiling. All teachers and students looked at each other. The head teacher, Lu Ru, didn't eat pork today, so she didn't transform into a pig-like monster. Instead, she turned into a bunny girl. Her ears suddenly became fluffy and long like a rabbit's. Her facial features were mostly preserved, but her teeth became much sharper, especially those 2 canine teeth, which became as sharp as crocodile teeth. In addition, there were white rabbit fluff on her face, making her look like she was playing the role of a rabbit spirit. Obviously, her beast transformation result was related to the braised rabbit head she ate, but besides the braised rabbit head, she also ate crocodile meat and ant chocolate, so her skin also showed crocodile-like phenomena, but the crocodile skin was covered by rabbit fur, so it didn't look as ugly and horrifying as the usual crocodile beast transformers. Instead, it showed the beauty of a sexy rabbit beast girl from an anime. The class leader, Wang Shitting, and my desk mate, Qin Shou, also underwent a similar beast transformation as Lu Ru, but Zhang Yunzhong and the other 3 boys didn't show obvious rabbit characteristics after their beast transformation. Instead, they showed more of a combination of crocodile and ant traits. As a result, the same food-eating head teacher Lu Ru and the 2 female students transformed into more eye-catching and attractive, while they transformed into more scary, like villains. What's going on? Zhang Yunzhong looked at his strong and powerful hands, which seemed to be covered with a layer of crocodile skin, feeling like he was dreaming, at the same time that I and the hotel room who didn't show any signs of beast transformation after the beast transformation, lay motionless on the bed, seeming to lose all signs of life, perhaps because he lost a lot of blood and sweat during the beast transformation process. I now looked as dry as if severely dehydrated. He had no breath, and his heart had stopped beating. From a medical point of view, he appeared to be a corpse that had lost all signs of life. Outside the hotel, traffic was paralyzed. Many people experienced the beast transformation phenomenon while driving, so they lost control in pain, and accidents happened everywhere. And in the hotel, the staff and guests were all in a mess. It seemed that someone was in too much pain during the beast transformation process, tried to smoke to relieve it, or for other reasons, and caused a fire. With no one around, and the firefighters already too busy to care, the fire quickly spread. Then, the hotel's fire system automatically activated, and the fire protection devices on the ceiling of the hallway and rooms started spraying water. This time, who had clearly lost all signs of life and was as dry as severely dehydrated, started to absorb water when wet, and then his heartbeat recovered. The unique cryptobiosis ability of tardigrades was vividly displayed on my body. Buzz, buzz, electric currents seemed to course through my body, stimulating my heart into a sudden, rapid beat. My previously shriveled and dehydrated body gradually regained its normal appearance as it absorbed the mist sprayed from the fire prevention system. My consciousness, which had been plunged into a black hole and deep sleep, suddenly saw a glimmer of hope for survival. I abruptly opened my eyes and awakened. Am I still alive? I woke up to find myself still in the hotel room. It seemed that I had lost consciousness earlier due to the unbearable pain of the transformation process, and had subsequently passed out. However, as I looked at my bare body and hands, I noticed no signs of transformation. What's going on? I was suddenly baffled. Although there were no visible signs of transformation, I could distinctly feel that my sight and hearing had improved significantly. This indicated that the transformation had been completed, and I had successfully acquired the superior sight and hearing abilities of an owl. Moreover, I was incredibly hungry, so much so that even getting out of bed seemed to drain my last bit of energy. This was a typical symptom of severe energy depletion and extreme hunger during the transformation process. With great difficulty, I crawled towards the bedside table, grabbed the chocolate bars I had prepared to replenish my energy during the transformation process, and began to devour them voraciously. After finishing 3 cans of chocolate, I finally felt a bit better. However, the energy supplement was still insufficient, and I was extremely hungry and thirsty. After drinking a whole bottle of mineral water, I dragged my weak body to the bathroom and drank water from the tap to satiate my thirst and hunger. Finally, I felt full. The intake of chocolates and water seemed to invigorate my body, which began to show noticeable changes after the transformation. Although there were no visible signs of transformation apart from my eyes in the mirror, they had clearly undergone the transformation, appearing as dark as pitch with a hint of golden hue, resembling the dominant and sharp eyes of an eagle. Apart from confirming the transformation of my sight and hearing, I also noticed that my strength was recovering and increasing. I squeezed the door frame, and the stainless steel exterior was instantly crushed, causing the tempered glass inside to shatter instantly. It seemed that the power talent of the bullet ant had successfully been integrated into my body. However, I was puzzled as to why my body had undergone the ability changes associated with the transformation. But apart from my eyes, there were no visible signs of transformation in other parts of my body. Could it be because I had passed out and the transformation process had been interrupted, resulting in no visible signs of transformation on the surface of my body, but the transformation abilities had been integrated internally? At this point, I could confirm that I had successfully integrated the talents of the owl and the bullet ant. As for the tardigrade, it was highly likely that I had succeeded as well. I assumed that I had acquired the talent of the tardigrade during the transformation process before I lost consciousness and was plunged into darkness. The transformation process was so painful that I could have died at any moment, triggering the cryptobiosis ability of the tardigrade. Tardigrades, when determining that the current environmental state threatens their survival, will dehydrate to a certain degree and curl up as if they were dead. They can maintain this state of apparent death for hundreds of years until they come into contact with the necessary amount of water, at which point they will revive and recover fully. This remarkable phenomenon is the inherent cryptobiosis ability of tardigrades. I clearly possessed the cryptobiosis ability of the tardigrade, which was why I had suddenly dehydrated and feigned death when I was about to die during the transformation process. Subsequently, I lost consciousness and fell into a deep coma, only to gradually awaken after being drenched in water. Therefore, I concluded that I had successfully acquired the talent of the tardigrade during the transformation process. Now, only the talents of the electric eel, the ironclad beetle, and the salamander were left. I knew that the electric eel's ability to discharge electricity came from its specialized muscle tissues that formed the electric organ. Almost all muscle tissues could discharge electricity, accounting for over 80% of its body length, with thousands of electric organs. Each electric organ could generate a voltage of approximately 0.15 volts, and when thousands of electric organs discharged electricity together at full force, the voltage could reach 600 to 800 volts. I tried to stimulate the muscles in my arm, but there was no electric current. I wasn't sure if it was because I was doing it wrong or if I hadn't successfully integrated the electric eel's discharge ability. As for the ironclad beetle, as the strongest defensive beetle species with the hardest exoskeleton, if I could successfully integrate the talent of the ironclad beetle during the transformation process, in theory, my skeleton should have also completed the transformation that I was considering whether or not to test it. If my skeleton was as strong as that of the ironclad beetle, a hammer strike wouldn't cause any issues, but I decided against it, to avoid any accidents that could potentially disable me. However, I could test whether my body had acquired the regenerative ability of the salamander. I crouched down, picked up a piece of shattered tempered glass from the floor, and attempted to cut my left arm to conduct the test. To my surprise, even though the skin on my arm looked no different from usual and my strength had significantly increased, no matter how hard I tried, the glass shard in my right hand couldn't cut through the skin on my left arm. This left me both amazed and excited. Among the transformation meals I had carefully prepared, only the ironclad beetle had the talent for external defense. Did this mean that I had successfully integrated the talent of the ironclad beetle? Zhou Zhiming had once said that the exoskeleton of the ironclad beetle was so strong that it could withstand nearly 40,000 times its own body weight. If scaled up to their body proportions, they would be the strongest and hardest creatures in the entire natural world. I was extremely excited and then remembered that I had acquired the talent of the bullet ant, so my bite force should be as strong as that of the bullet ant. So I raised my left hand and bit myself. Hiss. I felt the pain this time that I realized that not only was my bite force terrifyingly strong, but my teeth were also much harder than before. I had bitten through the skin on my left arm, and blood began to flow out immediately. Then, to my astonishment, the wound stopped bleeding and scabbed over at an astonishing speed. It seemed that such a minor wound could heal perfectly within a few minutes. Fantastic. At this point, only the talent of the electric eel had not been tested. I wasn't sure if it was because my body was still very weak and tired, so I couldn't discharge electricity or sense the unique discharge talent of the electric eel. Just then, thick smoke began to billow. The fire had spread to the room I was in. Only then did I realize, belatedly, that I had suddenly awakened from the cryptobiosis state because the water from the fire prevention system on the ceiling had drenched me. In other words, the hotel was on fire, which had automatically triggered the hotel's fire prevention system. What rotten luck! How did the fire start? I hurriedly put on my pants and, bare-chested, grabbed the 8-kilogram hammer and rushed to escape. At that moment, the floor, walls, and surroundings of the room were all filled with thick smoke. I suddenly noticed that the temperature in the room was rapidly rising, and a sense of foreboding welled up in my heart. It's going to flash over. I rushed to escape. However, the moment I opened the door, a wave of heat swept over me. The elevator on the left had already been engulfed by the sea of fire, and there was a large amount of smoke at the staircase on the right, which had clearly also been swallowed by the fire, making escape impossible. I began to wonder, given my current physical condition, would I die if I jumped from the 12th floor? Damn it, why hadn't my body shown any signs of transformation? Why hadn't I acquired the wings of an owl or the ironclad beetle? Just as I was cursing in my mind, my scapula, as if receiving an instruction, suddenly started to move. Sensing the movement, I was momentarily stunned, then excitedly rushed to the window, forcibly prying the two window panes apart. At that moment, with a whoosh, flashover began to occur all around me. Holding the hammer in my hand, I bravely jumped out of the window from the 12th floor just as I was about to be engulfed by the smoke and fire. The smoke was pungent, and the flames were scorching. I held my breath, bearing the high temperature of the fire, and focused all my energy on my scapula. Then, with a swoosh, a pair of wings, extending more than 3 meters wide, with a silver-black hue like forged steel, sprouted from my back.